Japan sits atop the converging Pacific, Philippine, and Eurasian plates, a jagged boundary where relentless pressure produces earthquakes. Along the Tohoku coast, in Sendai, Miyagi, and Iwate, fishing villages and small towns have lived with tsunami warnings and seawalls for generations. The Fukushima Daiichi plant, operated by TEPCO in the towns of Okuma and Futaba, loomed like a grim colossus, supplying electricity and local jobs. Then, on March 11, 2011, at 2:46 p.m. JST, a magnitude 9.0 megathrust earthquake struck off the coast of Honshu, an event scientists had warned could trigger devastating tsunamis. The stage was set: seismic volatility, tsunami-prone shores, and nuclear infrastructure vulnerable to a cascading catastrophic failure. At 2 minutes to 3 p.m. Japan Standard Time on March 11, 2011, the ground convulsed in a 9.0 magnitude rupture off the coast of Sendai, Miyagi. Floors buckled, bridges sagged, and shelves turned into lethal shrapnel as a swath of Honshu endured relentless shaking. Emergency sirens wailed, and within minutes the Japan Meteorological Agency issued tsunami warnings. People fled collapsing houses and fishermen abandoned harbors, while hospitals struggled to steady patients under falling ceilings. Subscribe. Maybe clicking it would have sent a warning. The sea responded with savage speed. A thundering tsunami raced across the Pacific shelf, overtopped seawalls, and flattened coastal towns like Kesenuma, Minamisanriku, and Rikuzen Takata, leaving streets littered with cars and debris. The wave surged into the Fukushima Daiichi plant in Okuma and Futaba, inundating turbine rooms, severing the external power grid, and flooding diesel backup generators. With power cut and cooling pumps silenced, the reactors entered a technical nightmare that pushed the disaster into far darker territory. When the tsunami flooded the diesel backup generators at Fukushima Daiichi and plunged the site into a complete station blackout, the reactors lost active cooling and decay heat caused core temperatures to climb. At Units 1 through 3, operators led by plant manager Masao Yoshida and TEPCO crews scrambled to vent steam, inject seawater, and jury-rig pumps as temperatures and pressures rose toward fuel damage. NISA declared a nuclear emergency on March 11th, and on March 12th, the government ordered a mandatory evacuation within 20 kilometers and advised residents in the 20 to 30 kilometer zone to shelter in place. Radiation monitors soon detected airborne and seawater contamination near Okuma and Futaba. Conflicting reports from Tokyo, TEPCO, and local mayors created confusion and panic, while improvised teams used fire engines, portable generators, and power buses under ash-gray skies. International agencies, including the IAEA, tracked the releases and advised governments worldwide, turning a local nightmare into a global crisis. On March 12th and March 14th, 2011, hydrogen explosions tore through Units 1 and 3 at Fukushima Daiichi, blowing off reactor building roofs and leaving behind gutted skeletal frames. Radiation levels spiked, and detections of iodine-131 and cesium-137 in the air and seawater confirmed core damage in multiple units. As evacuation zones expanded and fears of contamination grew, tens of thousands more people were forced from their homes. Conventional contingency plans had failed. Tsunami flooding drowned the diesel generators, venting only partially relieved pressure, and the cooling pumps had stopped. TEPCO and plant manager Masao Yoshida turned to desperate, improvised actions, venting radioactive steam, injecting seawater, bringing in fire trucks and concrete pumps, and even using helicopter water drops to try to prevent full core breaches. Each improvised measure exacted a toxic toll, and responders faced ruinous choices to stop a catastrophic release that could have poisoned land and sea. Through March and the following months, TEPCO crews and workers at Fukushima Daiichi battled a searing, ashen landscape to tame the reactors. Seawater injection began immediately after the tsunami and continued through March, later replaced by fresh water as pumps and power were painstakingly restored. Off-site power was reconnected around March 20th, 2011. Temperatures and pressures fell as decay heat was bled away. And on December 16, 2011, TEPCO declared cold shutdown of Units 1 through 3. That hard-won technical achievement, paid for in radiation exposure, ruined towns, and the displacement of more than 154,000 evacuees, marked the shift from frantic emergency response to controlled stabilization and a grim moral reckoning for workers and communities. By the end of March 2011, the toll was nearly 16,000 dead, more than 2,500 missing, and over 154,000 displaced. Vast swathes of land and sea were contaminated by radioactive material, and the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant's decommissioning is expected to take 30 to 40 years. The toxic cleanup reshaped local livelihoods. Japan's energy policy shifted and global nuclear safety rules were tightened, leaving a scarred nation in the haunting question, what price safety?